Welcome, everyone, to episode 449 of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff and podcasts, too. Today, Jennifer Gordon joins the podcast. Jennifer Gordon is a writer, a podcaster herself. She has an amazing show with some amazing guests, and I was really honored to have her come on. She also she's an amazing talent for one, but this is my last audio-only interview, and I couldn't think of a better guest to wrap this up with. I don't know Jennifer that well, although I did get to know her quite a bit in this conversation. She is my last guest as an audio-only. She's also my very first guest next Monday, November 23rd, 9 p.m., she is going to kick off the new show in a new way. It's still going to be episode 451, but we're going to evolve this completely to the next level. And that's been the goal for the last little bit. And I've been just wrapping these up. This is, like I said, I kind of feel surreal. 449 episodes and yeah. But anyway, let's get to our conversation with Jen, and I'll wax glossful about all this stuff when it's over. All right? All right.
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
So yeah, anyways, so what I'm doing with my show is on Friday I'm doing Drink and Draws. Because we are a visual show, right? When we have, like, it's funny, ladies and gentlemen, this is my last actual audio-only recording, and Jennifer Gordon gets the honor of being my final audio-only interview, and my first visual interview officially for the show as well. Yeah! She did like a self pump there. It was awesome.
I know. I did like kind of jazz hands. I know nobody can see it, but I did like jazz hands or spirit fingers or ASMR clapping. I mean, either one, it's all the same.
ASFL clapping, awesome. Yeah. So, anyways, like one of the things I'm doing with the show is it's a visual, and I realize one of the cool things that I can do with visuals with all the connections I have is drawing. So, drink and draws are it's like, hey, wait. Drinking booze with an illustrator and then watching them draw stuff, and maybe teaching me a thing. Yeah, that's it. That's every Friday. Every Friday, I already got my first. It's scary how quickly this has come together. I got my first 3 weeks booked already, which is like nuts.
Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, I host a podcast with some friends of mine. It's called Vox Vomitus, which is fake Latin for word vomit. And we stream live on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we talk to some of the best authors of the day. So last night we had Matt Ruff from Lovecraft Country, and so it was just great to like chat with him, drink some bourbon. It was very pub chat style.
What? Sorry, keep going.
I was going to say, it was middle of the day for him, so he was drinking coffee, but I was drinking bourbon.
There's nothing wrong with, listen, in this day and age, if you want to drink bourbon in the middle of the day,
I'm not judging.
It's just, this has been literally one of the strangest year I've been alive. I'm not going to say the most traumatic year of my life, but definitely one of the strangest ones.
It has been really strange. It's been, so obviously the entire world is like, nearing apocalypse territory. But at the same time, this year I got married, I published a book, I won a major book award, I started a podcast, all these like crazy things that are great happened, but I feel like I'm seeing them just from like my bed while I'm wearing fleece pants.
Not that there's anything wrong. Listen, that's the dream. Like, it's funny, we get exactly what we want, but just never in the way we expect it. Like all of us that are writing, dreaming of, hey, we can do it from the comfort of our own home, and we all kind of have that gift and luxury right now. We just don't have the freedom we fully imagine. Like that's the thing. Like everything is context, right? So in this context, a year ago, oh my God, I'm living the dream. I don't even have to wear pants. That's it, right? Now you're like, I don't have to wear pants, but now I can't go outside and play.
Yeah, like I can't go on a vacation. Like this is the first time in my life I've never had like a trip planned. I love traveling, so I've just always had at least like something to And now it's just I'm looking forward to hopefully not dying of COVID.
Yeah, well, see, I've had this, like, this is my second apocalypse. My first one was much more personal. And, so I look at this as a very different kind of thing for me. Like, it's going to sound strange. I went straight into acceptance, like, right away. And it was like, okay, let's see how I can make some money. That was the very first thing literally, that was my first thought. Not
mine too.
Yeah, it was, how can I make some money doing this? Number one. Number two, because I've already, anything COVID can do to me, I've been through personally. It can make me sick. It can make me die. I've literally been at both places in my life. So, it doesn't traumatize me the same way. Because I've already come to the realization, like, in one real sense, the world has not changed. This was always a possibility. I think, but the thing about right now that makes this really bizarre and scary is it's everybody at once, not just, like, your own personal moments in life. And everybody's acting crazy, which is, like, only I was acting crazy in the last apocalypse. My last one, I was the only one acting crazy. And I came to terms with, like, that. So now I feel like I'm the sane one because I've already gone crazy. But life goes on. It always has and it always will, regardless of the circumstances we're in. So to me, in one very real way, this hasn't changed a thing. And, because look, we and you are awake today. That was never guaranteed to us no matter what would have happened prior to it. There's no guarantee tonight I'm going to go to sleep. That's terrifying if you really sit there and think about that. But it's the truth. Life, nothing's guaranteed in life. So,
yeah, I mean, I understand that so much because there's been 2 times in my life that I've been incredibly, incredibly sick, like on death's door sick. I have really bad asthma. And I think it was about 2000, 2001, my asthma got so bad that I ended up in the hospital with respiratory failure, and I was there for, I think, 9 days of just fighting for my life, not being able to breathe, organs shutting down, priests coming in to try to give you your last rites, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that yet. So, I get that. And I think the thing that scares me about COVID is everything, but I don't want to go through that again. Struggling for breath is so terrifying. So, and I know how this virus affects people's lungs. So to me, I'm just like, I can't go through that again.
But I don't think you would. I mean, it varies for everybody. I mean, I'm maybe being the complete optimist here, but for the majority of people, it's going to be almost feel like a flu, except maybe a little bit worse, right? And then there's the minority that, okay, this is worse, and this is really bad, when it is really worse. And so, for me, it was weird, because my skin became red. I had things coming out of me that I never thought were possible. I couldn't walk, I couldn't sleep, my knees were on fire. It was, my body was going through this weird, something triggered in my body, and it was terrifying. For a few months there, it was absolutely just, I lived with that. Didn't tell too many people about it. And so, I literally watched my body lose complete control. And it humbles you when you realize that the very simple things that you take for granted just aren't guaranteed. So, for me, what it did was it meant, okay, if I got COVID tomorrow, and I got the worst case scenario, right? The breathing thing would be terrifying. People got to get that. I think of me. I'm at my dad's shop. That's one of the reasons the show's starting in my house next week, when the internet actually finally comes into the house. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
We were doing an interview with James Rollins a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, and his landline rung in the middle of the show, and he was like, I'm sorry about that. Trying to quiet it. We're like, it happens. Sometimes my dog bursts into the room barking. It's like, this is our life now. We're on Zoom. Anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally true. It's one of those, like I said, hold on a sec. Is there a message answer machine? No. Okay. I can always edit this part out later. But, I mean, like, so for me, it's like, I have this very, like, I'm not going to say I'm not afraid of dying, because that would be a flat-ass lie. But I'm not afraid of facing that reality. I think everybody's just terrified of death, but I kind of been there. So to me, it's like, if I get there again and it's my time to go, I know what that feels like. Or I have an idea what that's going to feel like. So I have zero fear. And that may make me very foolish. And I acknowledge this in one very real way. But on the other end, it's like, you know what? It cannot hit me the way it hits other people. Also, it just can't. Because everything it could do to me, I already know what that feels like. Right? Some of it would suck. Some of it would be painful. Guess what? That's life. Life sucks sometimes. Life is painful sometimes. I'm not asking for trouble. I'm not inviting it into my door, but I'm also like, you know what? When I walk away from this life, it's probably going to be painful. So I'm okay. You know, and maybe that's a weird Zen state, but that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, I feel like it's weirdly it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
You don't like. I'm scared of the virus, but I'm not living my life. I am still, the first few months I was really petrified, not leaving the house really very much. Now, I mean, I see people. I don't socialize per se, but I do, sometimes outdoors see people, and just it's adapting. Before COVID, pre-COVID, I was a professional ballroom dancer, and I taught dance full time when I wasn't writing. And COVID stripped me of my lifelong career that I've been a dance teacher, because we can't teach people how to socially dance anymore, because people can't hold each other in their arms and stand 6 inches away.
No, you can't. That's
with
impossible.
A stranger. Yeah, and you can't dance because you get out of breath. So we've, it's been my now husband and I have had to adapt our lifestyle to not being professional dancers anymore. Luckily, I'm a horror writer, and this year has been filled with horror, so...
You got plenty of material to work with for the foreseeable future. See, I went the other way with my writing. I've gotten sillier. Right? I've got... I'm writing about a giant cupcake. I'm not kidding. I have a giant cupcake that's going around killing people, Pac-Man style. They're doing a nom 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 nom. Because, I figure there's going to be two kinds of fiction that are going to evolve from this point in time. There's going to be the coming to terms with the psychological trauma that's been done to pretty much all of us. Or there's going to be people like me. It's like, you know what? Let's have recess again. This is recess. Enjoy your recess. Hallucinate this recess. Have fun. Because I think we need that just as much as we need to come to terms with come to inner peace. Like I said, in my case, I already got my inner peace, right? Some ways I'm like, can the rest of you please get to this point so we can kind of But I also realized too that I had the benefit of already going through one apocalypse, so it's just that might not seem like a benefit when I went through it the first time, but it really has been handy now. So
it's always good to have one handy past apocalypse in your your wheelhouse.
It's kind of it, right? So it's just one of those that's the thing. I've made peace with it, and I made peace with it really fast. And I think it's been weird to me watching everybody else kind of go through the 5 stages of grief. It's it's okay. Life, and I get it though, but I also get it too. We all do things at our own pace, right? And as long as you are honest about where you're at, it's not a race either. Like I said, I just have lots of experience in this position, so I was able to move past it a lot quicker. For a lot of people, this is the first, and this kind of adversity is, it's the first for us all, but that gravity is new to a lot of people, and I understand that, and it's like, okay. So anyone that's never been through anything that comes close to this kind of gravity, it is a shell shock, and I do understand that, and I've tried to be gentler in this time as a result. sometimes to my consternation, but I've tried. Does that make sense? Does that make?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So I write dark fiction, and what's funny is I'm writing, I guess, kind of a combo of the coming to terms with the world as it is and lighter stuff. So my current work in progress is actually lighter than anything I've ever written, even though it definitely takes place in this like dystopian virus kind of backdrop. It's not a COVID virus. It's a different kind of virus that makes pretty people turn really ugly. So it's kind of like the herpes virus gone really bad. And so the story centers on a disgraced politician and an Instagram influencer and what happens when they become not what they thought they could be. But so I keep telling people it's like The Stand, but with like a rom-com meet cute in the middle.
Aww.
So my beta readers are like, this is weirdly funny. I'm like, I know. It's funny.
Yeah. I get it. Like my novel this year, I wrote it a few years. Like I wrote a little bit of it. Was based off the 1918 flu, right? And it was like, oh, I was a fortune teller.
Yeah.
Shit. I hate myself just a little bit, but no, it like, yeah, it sounds to me like you got your own, like your zombieland piece. This is what this is. This is your zombieland.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
It kind of is. And what's funny is I came up with this idea in my little like notebook of book ideas pre-COVID, and I knew I'd been working on another very long kind of Victorian horror asylum piece. It's my book that comes out next week. And I was like, after this, I have to write something funny. And I always knew I was going to write a plague rom-com. And then a plague happened. And I'm like, damn it, people are going to think that I'm just another writer writing about the damn COVID. But I can show you my journal. I had the idea before.
Yeah, no, I don't have to worry. Like I said, literally, there's a scene in my head, like the first, like this. So my movie starts with the birth of the cup. Like not the movie, the book starts with the birth of the cupcake. He's doing a job interview as a social media guy over over a digital thing, and they're doing like a Frankenstein-ish type experiment with a cupcake, and it kind of worked. Like he literally, the interview starts with "It's alive, it's alive." Because let's be honest. We all love that line in Frankenstein. We all do. Right? So you hear that. The boss answers it saying something really bad happens and the cupcake escapes. And I got like this like milk carton. I got this milk carton-esque thing going on. Like I have a Twitter feed with this, but this one's going to be a very milk carton-esque. Have you seen this cupcake? And literally there are people that are like, or other missing people. Right? And they've been like, and there's people I know, they're just going to get eaten by the cupcake because I just like that's literally it. And then there's this scene, and I'm building up to like about the middle of the story. It's a Pac-Man homage. Like he's literally running in this maze trying to avoid the nom 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 nom. Except of course at some point the cupcake's going to cheat and start eating through the walls. Right? It's like nom nom. And yeah. I have a strange imagination, but I just wanted to do a homage to Pac-Man, and I all my fiction. I'm writing Parallel Universe Dragon Slaying because that is somewhat influenced by COVID in this sense. Some of the side effects of it in terms of how big business is operating and other things of that nature, frankly pissed me off, and I'm taking out all those frustrations in that book, right? But the other one is just it's cupcakes. I'm writing about cupcakes. And then when I'm done that, I'm running about a croquet game in a labyrinth with my Alice in Wonderland series, and that's like that's where I am in my imagination right now. I think my coping mechanism for me has been like having fun in my own little worlds, and that's been how I've coped. And I think maybe I'm crazy, but I'm at least having fun, and I think that's the important thing.
Especially, I think, as a writer, this is the time for us to kind of get lost in our imaginations a little bit. And, we have the time right now to take some risks with our work and just go, what would happen if I wrote a book about a cupcake? Or what would happen if I wrote a story about a plague, but instead of it being about a plague, it's actually about these two assholes that meet each other, and maybe they fall in love. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm a total pantser, so the story might change once they
I've become somewhere in between a plotter and a pantser. Like, this has evolved. Like, after I did the first novel, it was like, okay, you have a good idea where the story's going, but your middles are kind of soggy. If it was a sandwich, it would be like the wet part of the bread. You don't wanna have that. And I think that's where plotting is really good. It's like, even if you don't necessarily, this is the thing, I give myself the freedom to completely throw my plot away. I'm not a slave to it, but I'm like, drawing a map's not a bad idea. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So,
yeah, I mean, I think, I say I'm a total pantser, and I am, because I usually throw my plot out. But I try going into this, like, when I start something, I'm like, I know the beginning. I usually kind of know the end. Sometimes I give myself, like, 2 endings, like an ending and an alternate ending, and I'll figure out which one actually fits.
Okay.
So, and sometimes, my characters just take over, and,
oh, yeah.
They tell their own story, and it's not the story I thought I was telling, but...
No. So, I got 2 fun questions. I know we haven't really done much questions in this, but if you listen to my pod, if I ask, it's usually just something that comes from the conversations. But I think for you, when you write, how much of it is you enjoying the surprise of what's coming next? Because it sounds so... It sounds... Yeah.
Yeah, I love it when my characters make the wrong decision. I love it so much. In my first book, Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, which just won the Kindle Award for the Best Horror of 2020. Best Horror. I remember, like, typing, and it was about something kind of an inconsequential scene starring my main character. And somebody offers him drugs, and he's always said no. And then this one time, he's like, sure, well, like, what the hell? I'll just buy some Oxy and see what happens. And I'm like, no! I was just, like, literally screaming at my fingers and at the screen, like, what did you do? That's the wrong life choice. Ah! And my now husband came in the room because he heard me screaming. He thought, like, maybe I'd seen a spider or a mouse or something. And I'm like, Adam just bought Oxy. And he's like, you wrote it. He didn't have to do that. I'm like, no, he did.
And that's a hard one. That's a hard one for someone that doesn't write to understand. No, he had to. He told me to. Yeah.
I'm like, even though the last time somebody said, hey, you want some Oxy? He said no. This time he said yes. And it really did make it was like a turning point in the story, and I didn't realize it was going to be until it happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And I love that. I love these moments. In the book that I have coming out next week, I thought I was writing a story about like a priest who had lost his faith, and he might be bipolar. But all of a sudden he started hallucinating, and I was like, oh, I see, you don't have bipolar disorder. And I literally already written like a whole book about him, and then like halfway through the second book, I'm like, oh, now I get who you are. You're crazier than I thought you were. And it surprised me that it happened, and I loved that it happened, and it's why I had to take one, what I thought, really long book and make 2 books out of it, because all of a sudden he started to hallucinate, and it was what he was hallucinating about, and then it changed from there, and I let it, and I think that's...
So for me, I wrote a epic poetry series. Like, it's actually a Gilgamesh-style epic poem. The first one was called The Watcher, which I'm still really proud of to this day. And I wrote a sequel, Stormdancer, which fleshed out the rest of the characters. And the last one, which I knew was going to be the last book in the series. So I get to about the 3/4 mark of it, and one of the characters goes, "You need to kill me now. Like, I need to go." And I'm like, but I like you. Actually, yeah, she was my favorite character to write in that whole series. Like, she was truly a badass. But she's like, no, gotta go. It's like, something has to change here, and I'm the only thing short of the main character in that one, I'm the only thing that can go that will have an impact. Right? And it's like, damn it. But it was the right thing, because once that happened, the end, it allowed me to get right to the end of the story, which I thought was really good. And it was like, oh, but you told me to do that, because I didn't plan on doing that. You were just going to live through this. But no. You had to go first so that the main character could go where they needed to go. It was the only way to make that happen. Like,
I know, and it's hard. It's hard as a writer, especially when it's like those characters you really love, and you do have to do terrible things to them, or they have to die. I'm like, oh, there it is. I just killed somebody that I really cared about. I spent all this time building up this character, and I love that person, and then I they had to die.
Yeah, it's like you had to cack them. You had to really, really, really. It's like, yeah. But then it kind of made me real. Okay, I do believe in God. So this was one of those really weird moments. So is that what happens to us? We serve our purpose, and then we just get written out in some way or another. And I'm like, that's oddly depressing, and yet I'm oddly comforted by it at the same time. It's a very weird, like, I don't like that I'm getting tossed to the curb now that I've done my purpose. On the other hand, I did serve my purpose.
Yeah. And if you think about it like somebody writing a soap opera, you could be brought back to life later on when you...
Yeah.
So that could be reincarnation if you want, You could come back as your own twin. You don't know.
That would be weird. That would be like... I think honestly... there's only one of us for a reason, and I think I'm glad that there's only one of us for a reason. I think it's one of those things, like, when we go through life, like that mold that ever created us, and the universe goes, okay, you're done. We're just going to destroy that. We're going to let something else come in its place, because it's like, I love you, but there's a reason you're only one. So I look at it like that, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. Maybe it's my ego. I totally can admit that. I totally can admit that too. It's just one of those things where it's like, eh. But then it leads to the second question. So you enjoy being surprised by your work. So I had this talk with a comic book person. And actually I saw this, and one of the best things is having fun with your creations. Right? How important is that to you?
It's kind of everything. And I know I write really dark, kind of depressing, like ghost fiction. And so sometimes people would probably be like, hey, that couldn't have been fun to write. But it is. It's really fun because I really like my characters that I create, even the terrible, the villains, even the worst ones. And I very much look forward to my writing time because I get to spend time with these people that I've created. And especially now during COVID, when your world is a little bit smaller, like you're not seeing all the people that you're used to seeing. So I get to spend time with the terrible people I've created that I love so much.
Villains are fun.
So that's fun to me.
Well, villains are the best, because I think this is the thing about a villain. There's only really one rule with the villain. You must have them keep their credibility. That's it. That's the only rule with the villain. The moment you take their credibility away, they lose their power to be a threat. That's just how it works. You have to know what they want, and you have to know how they plan on getting it. And they have to stay true to that in as many different ways as possible. Right? That's the only real rule. They can say anything, they can do anything. They're not bound by the same restrictions that the other characters are. They can be mean, they can be petty, they can be all these little dark impulses we have that we do keep at bay. We can let them out on this page, and nothing can be said about it. It's like, oh, he's such a bastard, but you did such a good job here. It's like, yes, dark impulse under control, because I took it out here. Right? And that's the best thing about villains. Like, villains, actually, I'm not gonna lie, like, this is the only thing Early Me did really, really well. There's this one scene I wrote. it's a brother plotting to kill his other brother. And the thought came to him to go hunt his brother. Like, he was waiting, and the waiting was driving him nuts, right? I can go hunt him, and I can kill him right now. But no, I'll enjoy it more when he comes here. And that's why he still waits. And I was like, that is damn sinister. But that says more about who my villain is, right? Who my villain actually is, than if he had decided to go after him. Impulsive, in the moment, reckless. No, he's waiting. He's calculated. He's planned this. He's mastered, or at least has some control over his darker impulses, right? That's a much more terrifying villain.
It is a much more terrifying villain because that makes the reader or anybody think, that could be me.
Yeah.
I wrote, she wasn't even meant to be a villain, but I wrote a very unlikable character, or a hard-to-like character, I will say, in my book From Daylight to Madness. She is deeply, deeply damaged, young, kind of psychopath. There's reasons why she's the way she is, and I do get to that in the second book, but I was shocked with how many people who read my book and said, oh gosh, I hope there's more Agnes in the next book. I hope there's more Agnes. And I'm like, I can't believe everybody gravitated towards this little side character who did something bad to a cat even, and people still wanted her in the next book. I'm like, I broke the cardinal rule, like I made her do something bad to an animal. I'm like, I'm a vegetarian, I don't do anything bad to animals, but I made this character do something bad to an animal, and still people liked her. They still felt bad for her. And I'm like, yes, I did it.
I made a sympathetic character that was an asshole. Excellent. There's one rule, though, I found. And I stopped a noir story based on, because I broke my own rule. You can write a character you don't like, but you have to respect the character. On some level, you have to respect them. If you lose that respect, you're done. My main character was such a puss. And I had to, maybe like, in terms of just on my own person, like, I couldn't. Like, I tried to make someone I would despise, and I succeeded to such a degree that I was like, I just can't. It's so hard to get in your headspace and stay there. I understand. C.S. Lewis had that problem with Screw Tape, and I was like, now I understand it.
Yeah, I've never written a character that I don't like. Actually, no, I've written lots of characters I don't like, but I haven't written a character I don't love.
Yeah.
Like, I still, like, I love them. I like multifaceted, layered villains. I like beautifully broken people. And I know I've gotten reviews for some of my books that said, like, none of these characters were likable. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. They weren't really meant to be likable, but you do love them. And the better reviews I've gotten have been like, I just wanted to strangle this character, but I loved him so much. At the same time, I just wanted to hug him. And I'm like, yeah, that was the whole point of him. But you're going to want to kill him sometimes, but not more than he wants to kill himself, and that's going to make you feel bad.
That's the part you just realize you're giving him what he wants. It's like, damn it. Right? It's like I can't throttle you because it won't sink in the way it should. Anyway. No, but I think, like, for me, the whole nature of love is, and I realized something. Love and like aren't necessarily the same thing.
Oh
no. No, they're not. And I realized that the true measurement of do you love somebody is not do you like them, but rather are you a big enough person to let them walk away and live their life as they see fit? And do you trust them that at some point they're going to figure it? But no, the nature of love is, do you love somebody enough to let them make their own mistakes? That is the true measure of whether you love somebody or not, because at that point you're basically surrendering control. You're like, you know what? I don't have to agree with what you're doing, but I love you enough that I will do my thing. I will let you do your thing. I will let you be who you are and trust that one day you'll figure it out. But even if you don't, I still love you.
Yeah. So I had this great couple that I worked with for about 6 years at my dance studio. They'd been married for, 45 years, something like that. They've been married a really long time. And they would come in, and there were days that they would say, we don't like each other today. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And the first time they said that to me, I was just like, all right. But then they explained it. We love each other every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't love this person. But after 45 years, like, there are plenty of days that I just don't like them. So they would come in and they would sometimes bicker, and I would just say, do you not like each other today? And one of them would be like, well, I like her, but she doesn't like me. And we're like, and I'm like, okay, all right. And I feel like that about my characters sometimes. As I'm writing them, I'm like, today I don't like you, but I do love you. I'm gonna, as you said, let them make their mistakes.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing. Like, love is not control. Love is freedom. Like, that's the actual, like, truthfully most honest form of love, is you give people the freedom to be themselves, and you're not judging them for what they're doing. Doing the show, I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've had a wonderful time even with you included. I hope I haven't driven you too crazy with all the random places we've been going. But I realized that the one luxury I think a lot of us have that we take for granted each and every day, we interact, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in person, whether it is judgment. We judge very harshly, and I think one of the things I've realized doing this show is it's a luxury I can't afford to have, and I'm trying to. And again, I have my biases. There's no like escape from that, but I realize that, you know what, the world is bigger than me, and it always will be. So I don't have all the answers. Maybe I'm wise. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, but that's just like that. I've come to that, like, we judge, like, the true nature of love isn't judgment. The true nature of love is mercy and freedom. And once I understood that, it's like, once I realized that, it's like, it taught me a whole different way to love people. And I don't get so mad at people anymore, because I've realized this, right? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think, not to go back to the COVID thing, but I think right now, the world, our country is incredibly divided, but there's one thing that we, as a world, we are all dealing with the same exact thing at the same time. At the end of the day, we're not that different. There are things I cannot abide by in my life. I can't abide by, like, racism and homophobia and, things like that. I can't handle it. I hate those people. But as a world, as a planet, as a country, as a city, as a state, we're all going through the same collective thing. And I think it makes it sometimes easier to connect with people.
Oh, yeah.
Even though we can't physically connect with people because we're not socializing in person, but, we can connect here over Zoom, over conversations. And it's easier to understand other people when you all have the same core thing that's happening to you. Like, it puts you kind of like on the same, evens the playing field, I think. So, like, the very wealthy are going through this, the very poor are going through this, the people in between are going through this. We've all lost, coming up on like a year of our life lost. That's in air quotes, people, because I know this is just audio. We've lost a year of our life. We've lost all of these experiences. And I think, to me, I always think loss brings people together.
Yeah.
And
it can. It really can. Okay, so this year, so this is the opportunities I've had. So I had the opportunity to meet you. It's strictly a Zoom meeting. Nice to meet you. You're awesome.
Nice
Sounds
to meet
like,
you.
yeah. But I've met people like Christina Z, Dave Butler. I've gotten to meet people I never would have otherwise met. I've grown as a creative. Like, my podcast used to be twice a week before this started. Now it's going to 5 times a week. I think I've lost my mind. But that's you realize, like, what you can do in this time and what can be done and what needs to be done. And there are some really cool things. And, I've come to my own decisions about what I'm going to do next year, regardless of what's going on in the world. I'm, like I said, I have a certain kind of Zen-like approach to this whole thing. Like, I'm okay with the consequences of whatever I do. And next year, even though I know I'm going to piss some people off, I'm going to pursue those things and handle the consequences as I see fit. I have the luxury of being just me. So that's what's going to happen next year, one way or the other. I'm just like, you know what? Time's too precious. I can't waste too much of it. And that doesn't mean I understand everybody else's decisions. I do. But I got to live my life because it doesn't matter that it's COVID. Your life is now. And there's still a zillion possibilities out there. And I'm going to see each and every one of them I want to see. So, good, bad, or indifferent. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I got married on Halloween, and it was the perfect day to get married. We planned this for like so many years because it was full moon, it was Halloween, it was a Saturday. I love Halloween. I wanted to have like a weird, creepy wedding. and then COVID hit, and we're dancers, and everybody. Originally, we had planned, to do a big dance, maybe get a big band, and then everybody kept saying, "Oh, well, you're probably not going to get married now, right? You're not going to get married." And we kind of kept it to ourselves, but we did. We still got married. It was completely private, but we got to have like our weird gothy wedding where we were like out in the woods, standing on a druid stone, and I wore a cape, and like we didn't let the virus stop us from having that moment, thing that we wanted.
Well, that's it. Like, the other thing about this time is it puts things in perspective about what's really important. Every time you're in a situation like this, and for everybody that's a little different, and I totally get that. For me, I just look at the fact that, my ultimate dream with this is to go on the road and meet people and hear the stories in person and show them to the world. That's what I want to do. Still going to do it. Like, I'm not going to let this stop me. Now, again, I understand that people are going to do their thing, and I'm not going to say no because I understand. But at some point, like, and everybody's going to hit this point eventually, regardless of where it happens in the next few years with this thing, like, we're going to start taking risks again. We're going to go back outside. We're going to interact. We're going to do those things again at some point, because at some point we're just going to realize, like, we can't spend the rest of our lives in a Zoom meeting. We just can't. And everybody's going to hit that breaking point at their own time, but everybody will hit that breaking point. And that's kind of like, I look at this like, okay, 2020, I'm cautious. Right, I get it. We're making sure this isn't the greatest threat, and it looks like it's not. It looks like it's serious, but it's not as serious as it was projected to be by any stretch of the imagination. So next year, some point, I'm going to say, you know what? Fuck it, and that's right, and that's it.
That's what happens, and you say fuck it on your show.
Yeah, totally. Totally. This is just totally what happens. Like, everybody in the middle is like, hey, I got a call, I got to do this. But, I mean, this is what happens when your internet has been inside a business for the last 7 months. And, like, I'm actually excited to have the internet in my house. I'm really, really excited because I can do, like, cell phone is great, but that eats a lot of data, number one. And number two, there's only so much you can do with this, and that's
definitely repeat the number
well,
again.
well, see, this is how you can tell. This is how you can tell you're in older neighborhood, because that is the old etiquette that used to be done all the time when we are using answer machines all the time. And you know what? It actually still works. Like, it's actually good etiquette. So I don't look at it that way, but it tells me how. I'm in Windsor, Ontario. I don't like that's where I'm at right now. After living in Vancouver and Calgary for 10 years, right? One or the other. It's been a shell shock in a different way. It's a lot smaller than I remember it, because it's just like I've been in such a larger place, experiencing so many different other things, that for me coming back here, I love that my family's here. I do. I miss them. I didn't realize how much until I actually was back here doing what I was doing. But I'm also like, There was a reason I was out there, and I can actually, and I can see that, and I know like one of the goals next year is I'm going to get back out there on my own, doing my own things again next year. It's for my own health. I know I need to do that, and I'm taking the opportunities that are here now, and I'm doing what I can to get myself established. But once I'm established, I know the next step for me is to keep going. Like I said, if there's anything about this time that I've learned is that time is a luxury, and it always will be. It's about doing the things you want to do in this life, travel to the places you want to go, right? See the people you want to see, fall in love, do all these things in life that are worth doing, right? Even if you fail at them spectacularly, that's okay too. It's not about whether you win or you lose. It's about what did you do? I don't know about you, but I got this big regret lesson. Like I have this part of me that when I feel a regret, that super hurts. It super, super hurts. And I don't want... The reason not to do something is a fear of getting hurt. That is actually the worst. That's the worst reason. You're gonna get hurt in this life no matter what you do. So what you have to do realize is you have to choose what's relevant to you, and be willing to get what you want, and be willing to pay the price for it, because that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. I think there's a reason why a lot of creators create out of like a sense of, I don't want to say a sense of pain, but we can channel that hurt, that if we take a risk and our heart gets broken, we as writers can channel that broken heart and create something that unbreaks our heart. Mm-hmm. Like, so any pain in our life can be turned into a novel, a poem, something that, kind of exercises those demons out of us and heals us. It's therapeutic.
Well, I think the thing about being a creative, no matter what your creating is on some level, sooner or later, if you go down that well, you have to face yourself. That's literally it. You have to face yourself on some level, and you have to come to a point of honesty that not everybody is comfortable dealing with, even the other creatives. I think one of the reasons, and maybe again, this is a theory. I'm a schmuck. I'm just saying this. But I think sometimes why creatives get so messed up with their own shit is what they realize that some of the shit that's in there, they may not always know why it's there, but they see this thing and they don't know what to do with it, right? Whereas I think when you're an artist and you're a creative, you have to recognize that you can't lie to yourself. It's the one that, like, you can lie to the rest of the world, but you can't lie to yourself. The moment you lie to yourself is when you create all these problems for yourself. And I think, again, this is just a theory of mine. Could be completely wrong, but I find like my biggest problems in my life have been when I have refused to accept my own reality, like my own shit. So, even if it's painful, even if it hurts, even if it's like, this is gonna suck right now, I try to go forward and just walk forward into it and kind of punching a little bit because I know it's like, this is gonna suck, right? But I've recognized that I'm going to make. It's okay to make mistakes in this life. It's okay. I think the big thing is you got to be honest with yourself. If you can do that, and you can look in the mirror no matter what.
I agree. I'm trying to think of, like, I remember times in my life when I was at my most unhappy, like so unhappy that I couldn't even create. And those were times that I was lying to myself, like whether it was in a past relationship, saying, "Oh no, this is normal and good. This is the life I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted." And then you become a different person. And then you can't look at yourself because you're looking in a mirror and it's a stranger.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, like, I think that's it. Like, as a kid, my dad tried to teach me to be as honest as possible. And looking at it, I think it was the best lesson I ever learned, because when you're honest with yourself, and you're honest as honest as we all lie. I mean, that's the only thing. I will never say I am a completely honest man, because that would be truly a lie. But I try to be as honest with myself as I possibly can be. I can handle. Because I recognize that the more honest I am, the freer I become. I don't know. I think that's right. And then I can be happy with the person in the mirror. And any pain I will deal with in the process of becoming that person I respect in the mirror is worth it, because the alternative is not to look in the mirror at all. And I think as a creative, that's the one thing about what we do. It's we at some point in the journey, you're just going to come face to face with yourself and all the things that matter to you, and the things that drive you crazy, and the things that scare you. Like you face all of it at some point in this journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, with not being able to look in a mirror, sometimes I think, like, my computer is my mirror too, my keyboard, mm-hmm. my blank Microsoft Word document is a mirror, and I have to create that reflection of myself in my work, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
And I think, I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Oscar Wilde. I can't remember, but there's a quote that says, like, every work of art is a self-portrait.
It's true.
And it is. And by work of art, I literally mean any work of art, whether it's a painting, a photograph, a dance, a written word. It's all a self-portrait. If you're an honest artist, an honest performer.
Yeah. No.
People should be able to look at your creation, what you've created, whether it's a book or anything, and see part of your soul there. If they don't, you're not doing your job as a creator. It's fake.
Well, or if not fake, it's not all it can be, for sure. It's not all it can be, because so I realized something, like, okay, yes, I'm telling a story about a giant cupcake, right? Like right now, but I'm telling another story underneath it, and it's about actually there being comfortable with who you are in the moment in time. And so that's what, and the reason that's important is I've been through, and again, this is the part I'm bringing to the story, and I know this, is I've been through so many changes in my life, all the travels and everything I've seen and done. I'm not the same guy I was even 5 years ago. Right? And I have to accept that there are parts of myself that I have left behind, and there are other parts of myself that have become stronger over time with the choices I've made. Right? And there's some good there's some good about it. I can accept the fact that I've made mistakes, and I will keep making mistakes. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. Because, you're right, the good part about it is you won't beat yourself up too much for making a mistake. The bad part is if I get too comfortable with that, I'm going to make the same mistakes. And that's a very, very tricky line. I'm still trying to become the hero of my own story. And I think as long as I'm trying to become the hero of my own, as long as I'm doing that, I think I'm on the right track. I think what happens when we get to a certain age, we stop and we're like, this is who I am. And that's, I think, I think that's a part of life. And honestly, I do think that's a part of life too. I just hope I get there when I'm like 100. I still got some crazy things I want to do all the way up into my 80s and 90s. So that's, and you think I'm planning on jumping on trampolines. I have a skydiving wager with one of my friends. She's someone I care about very much. She goes, yeah, I'll go skydiving with you when you're 80. It's like, excellent. You'll be like 73. You're like, yeah, it's okay. It's like, cool. It's like, I don't, because when you get to that age, you're also bulletproof. Not because you can't, right? Because, like, if something happened to you,
who cares? I hate to say that, but, like, you've lived your life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're bulletproof. It's almost like a second childhood. So it's like, I just have now, and it's like, you get to about, I think you hit a certain age, and it's never-ending recess. And I just recognize that this is what I'm going for the rest of my life, is never-ending recess, so I can be completely free, and I can do all the crazy things I want to do, because I think this is a sign that we're going to cut this conversation. I think it's like we're going to.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I feel like that is our cue.
Yeah. But so we'll let this run its course, and then we'll wrap up. If that's cool with you.
That's good.
Yeah, but I will say, pleasure chatting with you, and I'm looking forward to the second.
Great to chat with you.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, metal? Are you into metal?
No, not really.
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised.
There was a time that I was. Weirdly, I'm not into traditional music so much anymore because being a dance teacher, I think I just heard too much music all the time. Now I listen to dark ambient, which is it's a electronic music genre that sounds like a haunted house, or it sounds like like pipes clanging and
Everything in their mother is just trying to interrupt right now. Yeah, it's just the universe is working right now too. Okay, so everything just so we gotta do this real quick. So when we do our second conversation, I'm going to edit up to this point. We'll talk about dark ambient music and all that other wonderful fun stuff because I'll shut my phone off and I won't care. But I feel like for an audio conversation, this was a good way to go out. And thank you very much.
I'm kind of I'm honored to be your last audio guest and honored to be your first video guest too.
I've been quietly doing some streams I've been doing them on a regular basis on my board just to get into the hay, but the official episode 451 is going to be you. You're also going to be 449 because I thought it was a good way to actually bridge the gap because I've been doing this a long time as far as the podcast has been going. I've watched it grow and evolve, and I think the coolest thing about this journey is it's allowed me to, last night I was in a chat with somebody that literally worked on the set of Game of Thrones, somebody that's working with like a major studio elsewhere, and I was and I'm on this show with these amazing people, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And then it occurred to me, and not to toot my own ego too much, I've been doing amazing work in my own way, and in that way I've been able to stand with these people. And it's so cool that this has given me that luxury. And I am eternally grateful for it. Like, I don't know how long you've been doing your podcast for.
I created my show this summer, and the first episode was the first week of July. So it hasn't been going on that long, but I'm so blessed to think about the people that I've got to meet. I've got to meet my idols, my writing idols. I got to interview Paul Tremblay, who wrote Survivor Song and Head Full of Ghosts, and we got to last time we talked to Matt Ruff from Lovecraft Country. Next week we have Andrew Niederman, who wrote The Devil's Advocate, and he's been the V.C. Andrews ghostwriter for 30 years. And if COVID hadn't happened, I never would have started this show and gotten a chance to literally talk to my idols every week.
It's so cool, isn't it? It's so cool.
I know, and what's really cool is when, because I'm just like a baby writer. I'm just starting out and just, getting my feet wet, I feel like, because it's such a journey. And to be talking to people who are at the best of their game, and to have them say, oh, I look forward to reading your book, or they say, like, oh, I bought your book and I loved it. And I'm like, how can somebody who I really admire, they read my book? It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, no, it's totally.
It's like...
No, actually, it's amazing because you catch the attention of some really amazing people because it just, and then you get this opportunity like this where you just chat. Like, we literally chatted about coming to peace with life and death and villains and surprises and as I was about to say before the final phone call, and when it changed the conversation again, was that, your stories when you're at their absolute best, and you'll find this even with your podcast as well. I've had this very eclectic show. I do a lot of writers, but I've done politicians, pro wrestlers, comedians, musicians. I've met so many people on so many different walks of life, and I'm so fascinated by stories they tell. Like, I've been fascinated by you. Like, like I said, I was shocked, like we said, with what we said, like, in the edited version of this conversation, about, I figured, everything, that gothic thing, it's, almost like a metal performer, like a theater performer. I can actually see a lot of spots I want to talk to you about with the next chat. that is the next chat, which will be not that far away, ladies and gentlemen. It'll literally be, when this airs, within 5 days of it airing. I still haven't quite figured out what I'm doing for 450 yet, but 449, this is episode 449. So Jennifer Gordon, I'm going to say this for now. Thank you for closing a book and for opening a new one. But before we go, just tell people what's going on with you and where can people find you.
The easiest way to find me is to go to my website, which is jenniferannegordon.com, and that is Anne with an E. You can find all of my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff on there. You can also see some of my photography, some of my artwork, the links to my books are all there. So one-stop shop for cyber stalking me is on my website, jenniferannegordon.com.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you want a cyber stalker, do it there.
In a nice way.
In a nice way. Say hi.
Benevolent stalking.
Say hi. Offer her cookies. I'm sure that, or bourbon. Bourbon will work too.
Bourbon does work.
So bourbon works. Okay. I think that's a good way to actually stop the recording, so I will, right?
Let me help you tell your story the way you want it.
Let me help you tell your story the way you want it told. If you're in the genres of science fiction, fantasy, thriller, historical, or young adult, I have services that can definitely help you. I can produce, narrate, and master said audiobook so it's ready for Amazon and any other software you need. For more information, see my website at jpantellaresco.wordpress.com/audiobook services. You worked hard to create that story, and I'll work just as hard to make sure it's told in the right way. That's I almost feel like it's part one. It's not part one. This is my conversation with Jennifer Gordon. Check out her works, check out her books, check out her podcasts. Jennifer, I could not have thought of a better person to wrap up this part of my podcast career up with. You were an amazing guest, and I'm looking forward to having you begin this all over again. Thank you for helping me close this out. One more episode left, ladies and gentlemen. A couple things before I wrap this up. I hope you guys have liked the schedule as I've done this. You're still going to get audio episodes along with the YouTube shows. We'll see, Twitch shows. I'm going to be doing the Twitch channel. It might be YouTube next week. I haven't quite got that all completely nailed down, but inevitably I'm going to be going to Twitch with the show. And when I do that, it'll be Twitch night every night, and then YouTube will have clips of the previous night, and eventually the full episodes in their entirety there as well. If you want to get a part of that, I'm just saying this, my YouTube channel is available for subscription. Subscribe. My Patreon is available to be pledged to. Subscribe there as well. And my Twitch channel will be subscribed as well. But with all that being said, yeah, 450 is all that's left. And when it's all 450, the only way I could end it, end an era, and that's a giant thank you. A long letter of thanks to each and every one of you. If you've been watching my social media programs, you've noticed me doing first. I'm going to talk with some of the people. I'm going to go in detail with some of my favorite people in depth that made me who I am today. And that is the final episode. It's stories about the people I've met. But with all that said, thanks for listening to this episode of Just Josh. You can support the podcast and do so a number of different ways. Subscribe to it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, Audible. Buy my books, The Watcher Story, Answer One God, KirstyMarablePublishing.com. You can buy Alice Zero and The Cloud Diver on Amazon. Check a look. The links are below. Buy them. I have merchandise. You can buy that as well. You want a mug, t-shirt, whatever. If you want to, again, my YouTube channel is Josh Pantellaresco. Check me out there. Twitter, Instagram, JPantellaresco. Stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. And I'll talk to you guys real soon, okay? Thanks for listening.
Josh.